We are back on another exciting episode on Let's Share. Today's discussion is going to center on menstrual hygiene and the taboos surrounding this particular topic. With us today is Gilbert Ashanti. He's the project lead and the programs manager for WaterAid Ghana's Wash and Health Aim. He will take us through the topic and would have an impactful and dive right into some of the taboos affecting the adolescents in our various communities based on the SHARE project. Welcome, Gilbert.
Thank you.
How have you been?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
We thank God. So with the topic area, menstrual hygiene, can you give us a little insight on that?
Thank you very much. When you talk about menstrual health and hygiene, you are talking about menstruation. That is the monthly flow of blood within women. I mean, we know naturally that is how God has created women. And so they get to a certain age and they would have to menstruate every month. And so when you are talking about menstrual health and hygiene, it's all about how we are managing this menstruation, how we are keeping ourselves hygienic during the process. So basically, when you talk about menstrual health and hygiene, you are talking about the monthly flow of blood and how our young people, women, can keep themselves.
Okay. And when it comes to menstrual hygiene, you could see there's a lot of stigma regarding that aspect. Why is that? Why is menstrual hygiene being stigmatized?
Okay, so thank you very much. Before science, culturally, people thought that menstruation and the blood that blood that flows every month is dirty. At the time, we didn't have science to explain to us that it is natural. These things are created by God. And so, it is a natural phenomenon that everybody must appreciate. And so certain cultures, certain beliefs resorted to thinking that menstruation is a disease, right? And the blood that comes is bad. And therefore, once a woman is menstruating, that woman is deemed to be, impure. And so there are certain things that woman is bound from touching. You are not supposed to cook. You are not supposed to do that. You are not supposed to be in public. Even in some cultures, they will tell you that you are not supposed to bath.
Wow.
But actually, these are the time that, in terms of hygiene, our young women, our mothers who are menstruating, these are critical times that they need to bath to take good care of themselves. So these are myths that people have brought up over the years that that blood is impure. That blood is not good. When you are going through that, is sickness. But the truth is that menstruation is not sickness. Menstruation is natural. Menstruation is created by God, and in the makeup of every woman, you need to go through that process. Actually, if you do not menstruate, then it will be difficult to give birth. And so, if we want children, if we want family, then we need to also embrace and appreciate menstruation as
part of our daily lives.
Exactly, as part of our daily life.
And the way you said we should appreciate it,
Exactly.
How do we break through to these myths and taboos that are surrounding menstruation?
Great, thank you very much. This myth has been created over the years. Like I said, cultures, religions, and all that. So for us to be able to adequately break through it, for me, one of the key things we need to focus on is giving the right information and sensitizing the public very well. As we speak now, there are still young people who have been conscientized to know that, look, when your sister is menstruating, don't go close to her because, it is bad. She will bring misfortunes to you when you go close to her. But giving the right information, giving the right education, then we would break that kind of ideology and knowing that it's a natural phenomenon so that we can appreciate it and then support the young people during menstruation. So one huge thing that we need to do is to focus on awareness creation. The other thing I think we need to look at is the issue of education and capacity building. Capacity building in school and out of school. And also in our families, we need to take it very, very serious. I would also want to indicate that there's something that we call parent-child communication, which I think is also breaking. Parent-child communication is very, very important, how parents are engaging their children. Actually, the interesting part is that the same women that they are perpetrated against, these myths are perpetrated against them, they are the same people who train the young boys. So why don't they take the opportunity to educate these young boys when they are growing up? And that is where parent-child communication comes in. Parents must be able to break that silence and begin to talk to their young people, especially the boys, and talk to them and let them understand that these are natural. And once they get that ideology, they grow with it. They grow with it. And once they grow with it, we will be able to deal with some of these things. And I think nationally, we need to also be looking at how we are implementing our policies around menstrual health and hygiene. We need to be looking at the policies, how we are implementing it, and investing in it, which will help us break some of these silence around this menstrual health and hygiene.
Okay, so what sort of policies are you talking about when it comes to menstrual health issues?
Great, thank you. Nationally, we have policies. When you talk about menstrual health and hygiene, and in Ghana, one of the challenges we have is that we develop good policies. We develop good policies, but we don't implement them sometimes. I think maybe it's also because of resources. So the policies are there. But bringing the policy down to the people, implementing the policy. And sometimes the policies are also there. Yes, it's the same implementation, but the dissemination of the policy is also another thing. So people actually do not know what is in there, right? So for me, I am saying policy because, policy drives majority of these things. So proper implementation of the policy would help us at the grassroots level to be able to deal with some of these myths that we are mentioning in our communities. Recently, we had a meeting in one of our project communities, and during a menstrual health and hygiene day celebration, and we're trying to find out from the community members, what are some of the things that when your wife menstruates, you wouldn't want her to do? Some of them said they won't cook for them. Some of them said even there are some kind of food, when they are cooking it and they are menstruating in the house, they are not supposed to be there, because when they cook that food and she's there, I don't know whether the taste will change. So it is there. It is there. But if we all put hand on deck, I'm sure we will be able to deal with some of these issues.
Okay, so we established the community aspect, and you mentioned how or the ways you want to break these taboos, but I want to find out if you can touch more on the culture aspect.
Exactly.
With the culture, with traditional leaders, is anything being put in place to ensure that they help in breaking these taboos and barriers that we are facing in menstrual health?
Okay, thank you very much. Culturally, like I said, people have formed opinions, people have formed culture around menstrual health and hygiene. But as part of the SHARE project, one of the things that we are doing is to support religious leaders, support chiefs, support queen mothers to kind of get the right information, understand the right information surrounding menstrual health and hygiene, so that at the end of the day, they themselves become advocates for menstrual health and hygiene. And so we are building capacity here and there. We are engaging them in meetings. And one of the interesting things that SHARE is doing is that SHARE is putting a local bylaw around some of these myths and these negative cultural practices. And so it is the community members themselves, the traditional leaders themselves, the opinion leaders themselves, who identify some of these barriers to menstrual health and hygiene, and they have kept them in the bylaws, and they have provided sanctions. And so if you're a community member and you break any of the law, it comes with specific sanctions. And SHARE project is sponsoring that bylaw for it to be gazetted. Because we know if the bylaws are not gazetted, at the end of the day, you cannot sanction anybody with that bylaws. There are so many bylaws that are sitting in assemblies and other places, but because it is not gazetted, they can't use it to sanction anybody. And so the project is going to the extent of gazetting that bylaws, so that at least it's not only menstrual health and hygiene, there are other things that we have kept in there, some wash issues, because we know menstrual health issues also link directly with wash and other stuff. So these are some of the things that we are doing to make sure that we are supporting them and making sure that the cultural issues that are negative, that affects or that people perceive it to be myth around menstrual health and hygiene are removed, so that young people can have that freedom and work freely and also know that it's a natural phenomenon, and then they can menstruate freely, right?
And own their bodies.
And own their bodies, exactly.
So with the bylaws, can you just throw a little light on that? How were the bylaws acquired? Were the community people involved? Which people were involved to write those bylaws?
Exactly.
And what it is like? What is it?
Okay, so bylaws are basically rules and regulations set within a district or a community, a specific place to guide them. And so the process was that we started from the communities, and we trained the chiefs, the queen mothers. They went to do the engagement at the community level, had discussions with their community, then identify all the cultural issues within their communities. We were there to support them, guide all the norms, and then they would outline which are the positive ones, which are the negative ones, which one are we supposed to maintain, which one are we supposed to do away with. So they go through all these things, and then they come up with the laws that they want to do away with it. And then the next stage is to identify sanctions for each of them. So it was done directly in the community. We selected about 20 communities that did all these things. So in each district, we have 20 communities. Then all of them will be put together at the district level, consolidated as one bylaw and be gazetted. So it is the community people themselves who did the bylaw. We didn't do it for them. They did it for themselves, and I'm sure they would want to use it at the end of the day to make sure that we are improving menstrual health and hygiene issues within their communities.
Okay, that is quite understandable. One thing I would want to find out, what is that key challenge you face as the project when you're promoting menstrual hygiene?
Thank you. I mean, there are quite a number of them, but I will mention a few of them. The first one, I mentioned policy. First one is also a policy issue. I mean, policy is the big thing. The policy is that which drives the way things are done. And so even though we have the policy, but my issue here is its implementation. So that's a big challenge that we need to look at. Again, within the same policy line, you can talk about the products, the menstrual health and hygiene products, and the taxes around some of these things. Sometimes recently we did a survey, and we were asking people on the market, how much is menstrual pad, the disposable one? And the list we could hear was around 20 cedis, even those that are produced locally. And recently we marched with WaterAid together with other organizations, marched to Parliament and had engagement with Parliament to talk about the fact that, look, menstruation is natural. Nobody preferred to menstruate. I'm sure if it was a choice, no woman would have chosen to.
We wouldn't choose it.
But it's not a choice. I mean, these are natural phenomena, and it comes to you at a stage in your life. And so why should we tax people when it is natural? Who taxes me when I urinate?
No one.
Nobody taxes me. And so nobody should be taxing a woman who menstruates, right? And I think the Speaker of Parliament picked the issues up clearly, and during that year budget hearing, they decided to take some of the budget taxes out. But the point is that even though the taxes have been taken out at the budget level, it is not reflecting in pricing. And so you go down to the community level, you go down to the vendor who is selling, and the price is still the same. It is still increasing. From last year, the prices has increased from about 10 cedis, and now it is hitting 20 and as high as 25 cedis. So these are some of the things that we need to look at, because it's a barrier. And the whole issue is a young girl in class 6, and that woman who is a farmer, how would that woman get 25 cedis? And sometimes it's not just one, you need about 2. Those who are heavy flows, they need about 2 to be able to complete 1 month. And so it's expensive, and we need to have a critical look at it. The other things are the taboos and the myths surrounding it. Other challenges are the myths and the taboos. People still at this dispensation stigmatize against people who menstruate. And it is interesting, like I said. And so the education must still keep going out. Especially you pick young people who goes to school and they soil themselves in class, and it is another problem. The other thing is the infrastructure.
If you're an adolescent out there and you need any information on your sexual reproductive health, do not hesitate to contact She Plus hotline on 0800 001 122 or any of the numbers on your screen. Thank you. What's the biggest myth about menstruation in your community? Leave your answers in the comment section. Hold that thought, Gilbert. I can see you are so passionate about the topic, but would have to wrap up today's session, and we'll see you next week to continue the discussion on menstrual health and management. So don't forget to tune in next week on Let's Share as we continue this important conversation. Don't miss out. Bye.